Today is Wednesday, December 23rd. Our passage is found in Isaiah chapter 9, verses 6 through 7. For us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end, on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time forth and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. Our author is Judi Twiest, and it is entitled A Child is Born. A young man and his pregnant wife were relocating after being discharged from the armed services. After visiting his parents in Minnesota, they were on their way to Virginia to visit her parents and await the birth of their child. After a long day of traveling, they stopped for the night. Shortly after going to bed, the wife woke with what she thought might be food poisoning. It steadily intensified, so she called her mom, who told her to go to the hospital. The young man Googled the nearest hospital, where in a few hours their son was born 6 weeks early. The young couple spent the next month watching their son develop in NICU. Our mighty God has his hand on that young couple in so many ways. Originally, the young wife was to fly home. She could have gone into labor all alone, thousands of feet in the air. Instead, they welcomed their son together. Of all the towns they could have stopped in, God guided them to that special one. The hospital God directed them to, through Google, was not the nearest hospital after all, but it was the hospital he chose for them, a hospital with the loving care they and their son needed. Instead of having to pay for a motel room for the month, they were allowed to stay in a hospital room free of charge so they could be with their son anytime they wanted. The Prince of Peace gave them a calmness and amazed all those who met them. They were secure in the knowledge that their son was loved and cared for, but some might say coincidences, and the couple was just young and too naive to be concerned. I chose to believe the Prince of Peace was in control. My prayer for that young family is that someday they will look back at the birth of their son and realize the wonderful counselor, mighty God, Prince of Peace, our everlasting Father, had his hand on their lives that day and all the days to come.